Russia and China would take revenge against America, China would make it look like a natural disaster, but in fact, it will use very advanced technology and ask its scientists to trigger this undersea explosion, which would look like a volcano. It could be like triggering a volcano that's about to erupt, or magnify it, or some such thing, but it would be a huge event.
I was told that August would be a turning point. I saw a submarine. I was told that it was subterranean. I could see that there was laying of charges, and I felt that this was on a fault line. I was told in no uncertain terms more than once that it was an act of war, but this is tying in as well to what I've seen with Trump, that his health is not going to do well with this after this event, that the stress and strain is really going to show. So this is going to put him, over the edge pretty much with his health. So I saw him grabbing his chest again as he's addressing people. So I feel that the shock on his psyche as well is going to create a step back, a situation where he's going to be forced to step back. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Michelle Robinson, and today I've got a very special guest who is Vinita Pande. One of the reasons I was very excited to have Vinita on the show is because of her work with the Naadi Astrology. So for those who are not familiar with Naadi Astrology, it's an ancient Indian system that draws upon palm leaf manuscripts, and this contains information about individual soul journeys, and even can really speak to kind of broader collective cycles. So it's absolutely fascinating because of the depth and specificity of that information, which is often recorded in these readings. And Vinita and I have been in contact just because of some overlapping information that I've been getting and that which has been seen in the Naadis. So really excited to talk to you, Vinita. And, I'd really love for you to introduce yourself a little bit and explain a little bit more about this, the Naadi readings and Naadi astrology.
Yeah, hello everyone, and thanks, Michelle, for having me on.
My pleasure.
Yes, I think Michelle and I connected for a purpose, to tell people and warn people, and I think it's not a coincidence. And so, just coming back to this ancient palm leaf manuscripts of India, in the ancient times, obviously, there was no paper and stuff. So the sages of India used to write on palm leaves, dried palm leaves, and etch on the palm leaves. So all the ancient texts and manuscripts are written on these palm leaves. In addition to all these spiritual texts, the sages also wrote individual predictions. So they saw thousands of years into the future. And when I went and found my palm leaf, it had my name, and I did not give any information. You just give a thumb impression, and then they will read leaf by leaf. And then when you know it's your leaf when it's your name, your parents' name, your husband or wife's name, and all this identification is there. And then once all of that checks out, that means that message is written for you. And then they read the predictions, individual predictions year by year, and they will tell you the cause of certain problems that you might have and give you solutions as well. Now, in addition to, and that's really to reduce our karma. And in addition to reducing karma or planetary effects or ancestral baggage, they often give interwoven with individual predictions. They might also have world predictions. But for me, because, there's another chapter where you can ask questions, and I've been asking like questions about the world. And this started happening by accident from last year, where suddenly I was given all this predictions for the world. So when I was given the prediction, I asked questions and I was given more information. Then I asked questions, I was given more. And somehow for me, I was given very, very specific information. Not everyone is given that, but they have told me to tell the world, to warn people, and to protect lives, and that I will protect lives. and to also organize prayers.
Can I ask who is giving you the information when you say they are giving me the information?
Yes, so these are written by sages. Mostly it's seven main sages. It's called the sages, the seven so some people call them seven sages of light or the seven main rishis or siddhas. So these rishis were ancient seers. They actually are eternal beings, like you would think of any other higher beings that we have, like that. They've also walked on the earth, of course, but they are, eternal beings and they are masters, they're spiritual masters. And in the Indian tradition, the Sapta Rishis, the seven rishis, now these have occurred across cultures. You will see them in the Great Flood in the, in the boat, riding on a boat during the, the flooding, the Great Flood. And so this is something that I've looked into and researched and written a book on. It's a very large topic, and I'm forgetting his name, but he's another historian. You can watch him on Guy as well, and he calls them the seven shining ones. I don't know if you've heard that term, but they are the ones mainly, but there are many beings who channel this information through other sages. So, for example, there is some higher being like Shiva who is the supreme. Now, he may give information to a sage, and then the sage will write it down.
Right, okay. And so our relationship started around April. I actually did a channeling, which I found a little bit disturbing, and started kind of looking for a few answers myself. And that channeling, I think it was on the 13th of April, involved the talk of chemical warfare and how I was shown images of World War II, people around a transistor radio, listening for updates and news, and that we were going back to aspects of being that we thought we had left behind from that time, which involved wearing of gas masks. And so I found this a little bit disturbing to pass on that information. I also, I was just having a quick look I wrote down some of the things that came up, but that there would be environmental disaster and there would be an area of no man's land. And then I received information, and may have been the following channeling, that there would be heads that would come together and there would be, and I saw multiple people together looking at what looked like a map as if they were putting things together and conspiring with different information that they had. And so I was told that August would be a turning point. And so that was the kind of the time frame. Um, and then I think through that process, I might have spoken with yourself or we had some messaging. And at that time, there was some information in the Naadis around August. But I think we just went a little bit quiet on that. And then in my most recent channeling, I've seen Mount Fuji and seen that that's got, and I said smoke because I was in my slightly altered state of consciousness, but I saw smoke and steam. So I saw that there was activity with Mount Fuji. And having seen this, you reached back out to me because that again aligns with the Naadi reading. And so I have completed another channeling yesterday and got a lot more detail around events here. But I'm just wondering from the perspective of the Nadis, from that first piece that I saw around kind of environmental disaster, chemical warfare, what in that was of interest to you or aligned with maybe something with the Nadi readings.
Yes. So when I'd asked for predictions for 2026, I said, what would happen? I had received very specific information with specific dates. So it said that when Sun, Moon, and Jupiter are conjunct on a no moonlight night, and it would also be a solar eclipse, which I looked up would be August 12th, there would be an undersea volcanic eruption, or you can think of it like a volcano near the ocean, maybe, but it would happen near Japan or in Japan. So, sometimes it's little vague, but it did say volcano. It did mention Japan, and the old name of Japan came there in the Nadis. And it said that would be a natural occurring volcano. It's not like it's going to be at the end of the world, but it would be, significant.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first one. And then it said, but later there would be an act of war by China in cahoots with Russia. So Russia and China would take revenge against America,
Mm-hmm.
United States of America, for
Mm-hmm.
whatever it's been doing, which doesn't work in favor of China. And that would be sort of the first head-to-head starting of a head-to-head conflict. And China would make it look like a natural disaster, but in fact, it will use very advanced technology and ask its scientists to trigger this undersea explosion, which would look like a volcano. It could be like triggering a volcano that's about to erupt or magnify it or some such thing, but it would be a huge event, um, which would be undersea.
Mm-hmm.
And it would use poisonous gas or, chemical gas or something. And it will also involve satellites. It mentioned satellites as well. And then it said that this poisonous gas is what is going to affect people.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll affect their eyes. And I don't remember, but it said a lot of people could die from this poisonous gas. And that, and I had asked, like, would it affect me? And it said, yes, it would have its effect till where you live. I live in Northern California.
Uh-huh.
But it would affect the people of Japan the most
Mm-hmm.
again.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering where this is, where could this be? And it did not say the place, but my guess is that it could be the undersea volcanoes near Alaska. Now, the second thing is that this is my information, but then there's a friend of mine who lives close by, and he was told something will happen that'll affect him, and it was kind of vague. So he'd asked this question to the Nadi about 3 weeks ago, which is very recent, and it said, what'll happen, how will it affect me? So they said we can't give you a specific date, but it would be August, September timeframe. And so for me, it was, when Sun is conjunct with Ketu that would be in Leo, and exact conjunction is August 25th, but Sun is in Leo from August 15th to September 17th, according to Vedic sidereal astrology.
Okay.
So his was a similar timeline, and it said that there would be this war calamity combination, calamity war type thing, and it will affect you. You will be troubled, there will be problems, that you would see loss. It didn't say loss of life, but I'm guessing it's loss of life. But you will come out of it alive, is what it said. So this sort of is exactly the same. It didn't give as much detail as mine,
Right.
but then when two people are given the same information, same
Mm-hmm.
timeline, it reinforces what I
Mm-hmm.
was told.
Right. And that's exactly in line with the channeling I had yesterday. And also, um, in a recent episode, I've explained that I have another one of my mentor students has come online fairly recently. And it's just interesting because that was what I said, someone would be coming online. And the information she is getting, we are mirroring all of our information in our channelings. And so she's been given very explicit instructions, which is quite interesting, to send me all of her channelings. Now, I hadn't even caught up with all of them and listened to all of them. But of course, once we had been in contact, then I have gone through and had a listen. And she also is aligning with aspects of this. So during my channeling yesterday, I saw a submarine. I was told that it was subterranean. I could see that there was laying of charges, and I felt that this was on a fault line or in a weakened area under the ground. I'm pretty sure I got my favorite channeling word of the moment, which is nefarious around this. I was told in no uncertain terms more than once that it was an act of war and that it would be uh, exactly as you said, covered up as a natural event. And what I saw around that is it was as if I was underwater with the submarine and there was just a massive flash, kind of a blinding flash. And I saw that while I was underwater. So I wrote down that there was a flash, but whether or not this is something which is seen above the water, I'm not sure. And there's going to be more than one area. So I feel like there's kind of a sequence of events. So I had seen Mount Fuji. My mentor student also saw Mount Fuji. She was standing in Japan on this short snippet that she had, and she saw Mount Fuji in the distance, and people were running. There was a lot of dust and chaos. I saw that it was going to affect and irritate mucous membranes, eyes, skin, and I got respiratory system, trachea, and entire respiratory systems, and that it was going to affect the young more so than the adults. Um, but yes, it was an act of war against the USA. I saw that it was from our Chinese directive. I didn't get an association with Russia, but that was just a piece that was missed out. And just interestingly enough, over the since November, December last year, I've seen a massive crack in my mind's eye twice in the Pacific. And it's fascinating. And I've mentioned it each time I see it. And then I call it out as this widening divide that as the planet is raising in vibration, as the light is increasing, so too is the divide between two factions, one faction being the Japanese and US alliance, and then one being Russia and China. So every time I see that crack, and it fascinates me because it's under the ocean, it's so wide, and I just see water pouring into it. And I kept feeling, am I taking this too softly, too kindly? Is this a literal crack? But I was also getting the impression that this was a widening division between these factions. So I feel that also aligns with that information. I was given I guess the elements that are going to irritate. So I was told carbon monoxide, bromine, and sulfur dioxide poisoning. Um, so that gave and I was given some advice, which I know that you're very keen on giving advice around this as well.
Mhm.
So with this flash, I was told that I saw this flash. I saw a big cloud, and it was very spreading over quite a large distance, and traveling away from. I felt that it was still Fuji, Japan area, and blanketing other areas, and that it would cause the way I saw it was a dimming of the light, and that it was important to stay inside and I had a period of 3 days. So 3 days it was important to stay inside, to have access to water that is uncontaminated. So in my first two channelings, it was determined that it would come from the sea, but it would be airborne particles which would land in the water, and it would affect livestock, plantation, agriculture. So there would be areas of environmental disaster after this. And this is where my dear friend Einstein steps in. So I've conferred with him a few times. And whenever he steps in, this is his way of saying this is laboratory chemical agents that are being utilised. He's spoken to me before about how scientists are being turned for security and stability and financial gain. and working on projects such as this warfare. And then I was also shown Chernobyl. So in my mind's eye, I saw Chernobyl. So that also indicated to me that there was going to be, and Victor Legislov, who I've also done a mediumship reading on, who was really important character in the cleaning up of the disaster of Chernobyl and
Mm.
tried to warn people that it may happen before it occurred. And so he came through as well during that reading. So I felt like I had so much support for what I was saying, but that this would create an environmental disaster in some areas and, areas of no man's land, perhaps not being able to utilize the crops that the livestock would suffer, that the water would be contaminated. So important to have clean water because of these airborne particles, and that's including animals. I was also told, or I was shown, not even to go out in your car, so to stay indoors. And this was for a period of 3 days. So just making sure that you have enough, I guess, supplies for a 3-day period in terms of kind of food and clean water. So also important to cleanse your skin with the clean water. So it's a skin irritant as well. So everything, brushing of the teeth, cleansing of the body. Yeah, not a natural event, airborne, I got again. So that was some of the details around that. I know that you're intuitive yourself and you've seen in your mind's eye, you've had a few visions on this as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, Michelle, I usually don't share my intuitive visions,
Yeah.
but because you've mentioned it, I'll tell you because sometimes I'm shown things.
Hmm.
Um, so just before I get there, I wanted to give people a few more specifics.
Hmm.
So because in my Nadi, it said that it would affect Japan the most. I'm praying that people in Japan will get this message or watch my YouTube or somehow get this,
Hmm.
but it would also reach till California. So something that would cover this area, which would be Far East as well as the West Coast. And now I don't know if it's going to affect Alaska and Canada and of course where I am because it's come in my friend's Nadi because the Nadi, if it mentions something like this, it's pretty serious. It does
Hmm.
not mention things which are mild,
Hmm.
but to say that there would be loss and things. So one is the area. The second is the timing, which is August and September. And the timing can shift. It's a probability.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like a window. So it's August, September. And I actually created a group of, because now I've come to know so many people because of helping hundreds and thousands of people with Nadi leaf reading. So we created a group where we're going to share notes in August to have ready-made food because you may not be able to cook in open air.
Hmm.
Um, to have ready-made food for, say, 5 days per person, just to be safe because it's probably going to be about 3.5 days for the air to clear.
Hmm.
Um, but also have air purifier. Now, I bought the masks, which are for toxic gas. It's very
Yeah.
reasonable on Amazon. But we're making this list. And even if you can seal like windows, which may not be airtight, because I know in Far East, for example, the windows and doors are not airtight like in
Mhm.
America. So things like that people should be aware on what to do. These are a few tips, but definitely stay indoors and the other things you have mentioned. Um, the one thing it told me to do is to organize a sacred fire ceremony and prayers
Okay.
and mantras, chanting of mantras. I was told to do this even for the war, the Iran war. And I'd organize something which would be 11-day continuous fire ceremony with mantra chanting, and exactly in that, during when that was going on, is when the ceasefire happened. Because my intention was that you can have war, maybe you can destroy empty buildings, but I didn't want loss of life.
Hmm.
So the bombing on mainland Iran actually stopped. And a couple of weeks before this whole ceremony that I'd organized started, when nobody knew, like not the readers, the Naadi readers didn't know this. And the message was that even though this yajna, this fire ceremony, hasn't even started, the effects have already started. And there
Okay.
would be ceasefire because of this yajna, this sacred fire ceremony, which is called a yajna. There would be ceasefire for a longer period, less loss of life, but the war would start again, and this whole ceasefire is a bluff, that Trump is playing a bluff, blah blah blah. And it said also for this event in August, it's said, your prayers will change a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And because my friend, he also does a lot of spiritual practices, the Kriya yogas, the meditations, and many other things. He's been also told to pray, to chant, to whatever you want to do, have good intentions for people not to die and so on. So he is also contributing. So I'm organizing this grand prayer ceremony end of July so that there's not loss of life. I mean, sometimes karmically things have to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying that, okay, if something's going to happen, let people be safe with being just at home, or lessen the density or the toxicity of the air, or reduce it to a. So, if you make prayers like this, it said, we will listen to you,
Mm-hmm.
which is, the
Right.
divine beings.
So interesting because Deb, my mentor student, also got information during that channeling where she saw the tectonic plate move and this creating an eruption under and she did say Mount Fuji at that time. She said that this was something where a release was required. So there is something around that. Um, so I just wanted to, because I don't love bringing through messages like this, I find it really difficult I don't want to create fear, but of course I would never be able to forgive myself if I didn't bring forth information that I'm being given. So I've had a lot of big guns supporting me through this, to help me bring this information forth. I had during my channeling yesterday, that was from Yeshua, and he stood for the first time ever beside me with his hand on my shoulder. He was on my left with his hand on my right, just supporting me through my visions and seeing this event with some more detail. And before I had even done that channeling, I was doing a reading in the morning. And during the reading, the lady asked if there was anyone in spirit that had stepped forward for her. And it was a intuitive reading. But I said, oh, let me check. So I just take my attention to the left, where this is where I kind of see the people that have passed, that have stepped forward. And there was a man there that was just like my father. And I thought, wait a minute, I'm sure that's my dad. He looks just like him. But first of all, I'll just check this is not for her, and just described my dad. And she said, no, I don't know this person. So I had to excuse myself for 1 second in the reading and just say, look, it's my father. There must be something he wants to say. Take my attention to my father, have a quick conversation with him. And he just said, I love you. I'm very proud of you. And can you meet with me afterwards? And so this was highly unusual to be interrupted in a reading. And so I did confer with him afterwards, and he told me to take this seriously and to get a face mask, the gas mask, to purchase a gas mask, because maybe he thought that I wouldn't maybe take this seriously. I did see during the channeling I did yesterday as well that it would affect areas of perhaps northern part of Australia, not so much lower down, and perhaps not so much New Zealand as well, but that there would be some impact of some of this gas. I just feel like I've had a lot of support as well, making sure that I don't just go, oh, I'm not not going to bring this information to the table. So certainly if nothing happens, absolutely wonderful. That's fantastic, best case scenario. But if there was an occurrence along the lines of what we've seen together and my mentorship student, then that would be terrible not to have passed on some news that may have helped someone, just with a little bit of preparation, which could make a difference. And so that's really why, I find it very important to share and to bring you on and to share from your perspective as well. Yeah, I am told there are many others. There are many being told at this time that the timing had to be not too far in advance, but for my information, not too close, not too far, just to, this is the timing, the window. But there would be other people that are being spoken with as well, others that can channel and other intuitives, and that there would be information on other channels so that there would be more chatter around. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. This is a significant one, not because it's just a calamity, but it's also start of a direct conflict between China and the
Yes.
US, China,
Yes.
Russia, US, Israel. It's sort of like this this bipolar worlds.
Yes.
But it would be the start. And I have many more predictions actually that would lead into 2028, 2029. So I can give you a cliffhanger here. But there would be a major event in 2028, more than one event, but it would again be calamity separately and war as well. So
Okay.
maybe at some point we can discuss that. But
Yeah, I'm sure something will come through. I'm told somewhere along the line, perhaps before I was born, I signed up for this and I'm doing a great job and keep going. So I'm just like doing my thing. The other thing I just wanted to add is in my previous channeling, I was also told there was going to be a lot that was going to shock the system. Things were going to go off very soon. And I felt that was not in June, more into July, but from the sounds of things, very hard with timing and intuition. That's the part that's very hard to ascertain, but it was kind of going through that July timeframe. So very likely into August, and that it was going to go with a pop and a bang and a whiz, and it was going to shock our senses and our psyches, and that to the point where we would almost be speaking in hushed voices, hushed whispers. And so we were given advice in that channeling to allow that to play on your body and to not push that away. So allow that interplay, allow that shock, and your body will alchemize that. It knows what to do and it will actually pass through you quite reasonably quickly. But particularly people that are sensitive or sensitives are really going to feel that impact. So just know that your body knows what to do. Don't push away that feeling. The more you can just allow it, your body will actually deal with that for you quite quickly. So um, that was the advice that was given around that, around the impact on each person's kind of psyche around something that could be, quite a bit of a shock.
yes, yes, definitely. And it's kind of this very fuzzy area where we won't know, is it a calamity, is it war? But I think as time moves on, even later this year, because there's another spiritual master who was given the same information through the Nadi. I just happen to know it.
Mhm.
So I can't mention who the spiritual master is, but he was also given information through the Nadi because the Nadis will speak through, especially to leaders, like spiritual leaders, political leaders, and so because they have much more responsibility and they can warn a lot more people to protect lives, really, not to sensationalize. But he
Mhm.
was also given the information about August. August is something, it's a start. It's not just one event,
Right.
but that is going to be a start of something that we'll see for at least two, hopefully two, but hopefully not 3 years. And
Yeah.
that would,
Okay.
yeah.
I did hear it was unprecedented, is what I was told, that type of warfare. Not chemical warfare as such, because I saw flashes of Vietnam, but just I think perhaps the setting off of the natural occurrence. It was, the maybe the laying of charges or however that plays out. What I did see as well yesterday was this ties in very, and I'm not sure about time frame, but this is tying in as well to what I've seen with Trump, that his health is not going to do well with this after this event, that the stress and strain is really going to show. And this is where I've seen twice before, and I saw it again yesterday. So this is going to put him, over the edge pretty much with his health. So I saw him grabbing his chest again as he's addressing people. So I feel that the shock on his psyche as well is going to create a step back, a situation where he's going to be forced to step back. And so that is aligned with this event as well.
Yes, and Trump has figured many times in minority reading, by the way. So
He's always in my channeling to say, oh, here he is again. It's a very controversial character.
yes, he is. And but this mention of very high technology, and it said that China is going to direct its most advanced scientists to do this. So I want to re-emphasize it did mention man-made planets that are revolving around the Earth, which is satellites, and very advanced technology to do this huge calamity. I mean, it has to be huge.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I don't know if people watching this know, there is a weapon which only China, Russia, and America have. Nobody else in the world has it. It's called EMP. And so it's a silent weapon whereby it can take down a plane by literally switching off the entire thing. But it's you can if China has it in a satellite, it's like a pointed sort of energy weapon. It's called EMP. And so it can, China can also manufacture climate change. It can also manufacture fires. If you point like magnifying glass and how you can burn paper through sunlight and a magnifying glass. It's sort of like that where it can cause fires. It can trigger any like if you put, say, these, because I had seen in my intuitive thing that I saw divers with these green army cases which had some sort of chemical or some explosive or both, and they're going and laying it down into a trove, like I don't know where, but they're going down and laying this, and probably this weapon, from outside
Right.
triggered
Sets
it,
it
and
off.
there's this huge burst.
Hmm.
So they might use that EMP weapon
Right.
to, you sort of lay all this stuff. Now,
Hmm.
Alaska or that area makes sense because it's so close to Russia. It's very easy for their submarines or their divers from the ships to go down there because
Hmm.
I mean, it's 20 miles between Alaska and Russia. And that's how Russia has to be involved if they do anything over there. And then you see the air currents and the water currents is important because,
Yeah.
in Northern California, it still comes from Alaska because the jet stream is only till Southern California. But, the air is actually coming down and like this. So
Mhm.
they obviously know all of this.
Yeah.
So they know if they put something there, they know exactly where the wind and air and everything would flow.
Yeah.
That is important as well to know where will
Yes.
this go because they don't want
Yes.
it coming back on China.
That's right. I had a look at that actually because I saw in my mind's eye the direction. And so, yeah, I had a look at the world map and went, well, of course, that's away from the nefarious country. But I was given more than once man-made. This was not an accident, not an incident, not a natural occurring incident. I also, and I'm not sure if I've already mentioned this, sorry if I have I? That it would affect waves and there would be some impact on the Philippines as well in terms of wave activity. So that
Hmm,
also came up,
I see.
yeah, which would
Okay.
be understandable. So I saw choppiness in the water without anything kind of really um, big like that. But yeah, that came up yesterday as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. Wow, lots to look forward to in August. Oh.
Yes, but I do feel in the power of prayer, and I don't like to leave people with a problem, but also a solution.
That's right.
And I think that individual prayers can make a big difference. And I'm also organizing one grand one end of July, where a lot of people, and it would be on my YouTube channel. I'll broadcast it live, hopefully. But that makes a difference. And I've been told that it makes a difference.
Mhm. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your perspective on the Nadis and allowing me to speak a little bit more about some of the combined things I've seen, because it's not always channeling's interesting because because I'm often speaking verbatim. Sometimes it can be a little bit complex, some of the phrases that are used, some of the words that are used. So it's good to just have a straight conversation and combine kind of the different things that I've seen over pretty much from November. I think it started in November, seeing this issue in the Pacific. So, it really helps me having someone like yourself as well, so that I can, come out and speak of this as well and feel like,
Yeah.
well, that's okay. It's all right to share. I don't want to create fear. Um, I did ask a few questions this morning, like, oh, well, if we're in a split reality, surely some of us are not going to have this impact, or perhaps this is on a different timeline, or, some kind of evasive questions like this. And I heard that this was a fixed point, that pretty much. So there was no going around this point.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so I guess time will tell. And in the meantime, we can prepare, and also not dwelling on this too much, because the thing that one of the reasons I don't love bringing this information is if we focus on it or concentrate on it, then we can manifest that as our reality. So really still staying peaceful and enjoying those beautiful things around us, and looking and manifesting our beautiful futures, our beautiful tomorrows, and also praying for everyone to be safe and well, as
Yes.
Vinita was saying.
No, appreciate your inputs, because it's so shocking, honestly, that you saw
Yeah.
that too,
Mm-hmm.
really.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very it just confirms. Another
Yes,
confirmation is always helpful. And
absolutely.
yes, so let's hope that we can, if not, see, the thing I was told, and again, intuitively, because when I asked, like, how do I tell people, how do I tell people and
Mm-hmm.
save lives?
Yes.
So it says, see, you will never be able to reach everyone,
Mm-hmm.
ever. Even
Mm-hmm.
if you go on the news, you
Mm-hmm.
can't, because not everyone watches the news.
Mm-hmm.
But your prayers will reach everyone.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So,
Energy, the power of energy. And the power
yeah.
of manifestation is really strong, stronger than ever, probably becoming stronger. So, being careful, mindful of those thoughts, manifesting peace, tranquility, happiness, joy, all of the good things.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, so appreciate that, Michelle. Thank you so much. It was wonderful talking to you.
My pleasure. Lovely to meet you. And we may meet
Yeah.
up again and have some more chats
Yes,
and some more little
definitely.
conferences. Yeah.
Yes, sounds
So,
good.
so thank you, and thank you to all the listeners for allowing us to take you through that. I had a bit of a sleepless night thinking the same thing as Vinita. It's not always easy to bring this information, but it's lovely and timely and beautiful to share this space with someone else as well. So I'll see you all in another episode.